Hey, welcome everybody. Here we are again, sculpting jewelry with ZBrush. My name is Nacho Riesco, and I will be here during the next 2 hours, sculpting a newer jewelry design with ZBrush, of course. So welcome everybody. So let me see if everything is working on my side regarding to the sound, to all of my settings. Before I start working, I will show you what we are about to make today in a few seconds. So just let me know if you can hear my voice. The music is not too loud, everything is working fine. So here we are with energy for sculpting with ZBrush. So let me see. Okay, hey Fexter, how you doing? Welcome. You always are the first person who say hello to attend to my lives. I really appreciate your company and your support, mate. So let's start. Let me see, maybe the music. And I will show you what I have prepared for today. Today we are going to start a new design. You know that most of the times I start a design and I spend around 2 or 3 streamings for complete it from the beginning till the end. So I mean for the beginning developing the designing process, because we always start from something completely new till we call it done or ready for being printed or for being rendered. So before I start, just let you know here on my under my bubble where you are watching my face, you can see my LinkTree. So if you go to my LinkTree, you will get access to all of my website profiles, my website, my Arstation, my Behance, just in case you are interested about what I'm doing with ZBrush. And I will introduce you the first link that you have here, where I have a Patreon website where you can see this one view page. What you will get access to many content about ZBrush for jewelry designs. So you will get access to a special community. Well, you will get a forum on Discord where we talk about jewelry techniques or the jewelry workshops, workflows, I'm sorry, using ZBrush. So this is a specific Patreon designed for mainly for jewelers or for people who are interested on making jewelry with ZBrush. So you can be a member of my paying the membership. The membership is only €6, about $7.5. So you will get access to all of my streamings that I make specifically for this platform. You can see here the library of my previous streamings. Also, I am making streamings about keyshot rendering techniques when I am rendering my designs with keyshot, my ZBrush. The design that I previously made with ZBrush, then I send them to keyshot and I render them. And also, as I mentioned before, you will be part of a community inside of a Discord forum where you can post your work, you can ask your question and be part of this community I am building inside of my Patreon page. So just in case, I will copy the link and I will share it with you on the chat to all of you, just in case you are interested. Also, I will copy and paste my Linktree address, where you will get access to all of my website profiles. So you will find me in many different places. Okay, so maybe let's stop talking. We're gonna start working. Oh, let's see. Everything looks like everything is working fine. Okay, this is what I have already prepared for today. Starting for today, we will be here during 2 hours, and I will be here. So for this streaming I have prepared, we will try to find some solutions about how to make this kind of very common bracelets. They are commonly named torcs. They are well known from Vikings or from Nordic culture. So where it is rigid, or I mean, it hasn't any kind of bending or hinge system, so you can wear it on your wrist. So it's most of the time it is composed by only one piece, or maybe you can split the two heads or the two endings. Most of the time, two endings are a copy. It is completely symmetrical. What I have in mind for today is making a wolf, kind of Nordic wolf mythological element. So that's the reason why you can see the images that I have been collecting, or I have been gathering for as an inspirations. All of them are related to wolf heads, like this one or like this one. I will be talking to you why I decided to select this specific picture. We are not, as usual, we're not going to copy anything. We are going to try to make or design something from scratch. So this part of the live streams that I do, it's one very important part is the designing process. So that means that we don't go directly sculpting something with ZBrush. So we start creating something. So trying to see how it works on the idea, gathering different inspiration, trial and errors, or making mistakes due to the designing process. We are not copying nothing that which already exists, so we are creating something. And this is the idea that I have is using this kind of finishing, where we are not going to sculpt a realistic or anatomical correct or realistic wolf head. So I prefer to use this kind of references which are more simple, or maybe more stylized, or they looks like they have been carved in metal or in bone or any other material. For example, like this kind of finishings, when we are having very big spaces or very big areas with a lot of lines, where with a lot of recessed areas, where this is very useful when we cast it in silver, because we can apply a patina, a black coating, so all the recessed areas will be blackened, so it will be very cool. So this kind of designs works very well for this kind of finishings. Most of the times this kind of bracelets are made in silver or in brass, and you can apply this kind of coating for enhance or for give more depth to the details that we can sculpt on the surface. And for example, things like this is like a patina or black coating. So after polish it, you can polish the highest surfaces or the peaks, and you will get a shiny reflected surface on top, but you will get a deep black color on the cavities. So this will give us a very good finishing. So just to say, this is one thing that I used to say on all of my streaming. So we are about to create a physical product. So I came from my work, it's working for jewelers, working for jewelry brands. So all the stuff that I'm making inside of ZBrush, it needs to be manufactured. That means that I'm not going to use possibly many concepts related to video games or character design. So during the designing process and during the sculpting process, I always have the manufacturing process in mind, in terms of, for example, if we talk about detail, how deep the details are, how are they going to be reproduced on the 3D printing or on the polishing part of the process, if they are going to be possible for being casted very well, in depending on the kind of metal. We should consider the manufacturing process. In this case, I already mentioned before. So for example, in this case, the cavities will need to be deep enough for being able to polish the surface without damage the details. So many different things should be considered when we are creating a product, instead of virtual or digital file, which is going only to being observe or watch on a computer. So this is a very important part of my strategy. Hey, Johnny Miller, welcome. Next, Johnny, welcome. So let's start working on this. So for example, I'm going to fix this mode always on top. Let's make this smaller. And the first, you can see here, we already have different options. The most common one, probably we will go into this direction, where this kind of interviewed or kind of a scrolling, or I don't know how to call this, is the twisted wire, where you are having one flat surface and another texture surface, or detail and flat, combining detail flat, this kind of finishing, or also this, which is very common to apply a wire, twisted wire on the cavities like this one. We are going to, of course, most of the time this is made by hand with different thicknesses of different wires, but today we are going to make it with ZBrush, having in mind for printing this as a one single piece. For example, we can split the heads from the bracelet, but we are going to print both elements, the heads and the bracelets. So that means that we are not going to consider to do this by hand using wires or metal wires. Also, we can work for making something more like this, some more complex. So we will be investigating different forms of making different texture or finishings on the bracelet body, on the main bracelet body. For example, I like this one. We will try to replicate this pattern. This is a very cool pattern to use. But we are going to start with, for example, this one, where you have here, instead of flat and textured, you have all textured with this kind of, well, we can say lines and twisted body here on the bracelet. We can let's try to investigate many different trying different possibilities, because once we have the bracelet body already decided and made, so we can start making the head of the wolf. So based on different references, probably for you in this case is going to be, in my opinion, the easiest part of the process, because in this case it's going to be just sculpting something. You can see many artists here sculpting on the channel, sculpting many different things. Probably, in my opinion, it's going to be more interesting being focused on more technical stuff like the body of the bracelet, this here. Okay, so let's start working. Maybe we can fix this image as main reference. Hey Vishal, ¿cómo estás? Estoy bien. ¿Qué tal tú? Bienvenido. Gracias por venir. Espero que te sea interesante el directo. How many people are we? Okay, 25. Perfect. Okay. Oh, here we are. So let's start, of course, with a cylinder. Let's start grabbing the cylinder, drop it on the canvas, get into edit mode, so we can convert this to polymass. And the first thing to find a solution is, when we are talking about the bracelet, this bracelet are not 100% circular or symmetrical. You can see it is not a circle that we already have from a cylinder. It has, oops, I want to pay. It has this kind of shape instead of the circular shape. So for that reason, maybe probably any of you are thinking on this method for finding a solution about to start finding here. For example, you can start making something like this. You can make it bigger. You can put it this view. You can get into the clicking on the gear. You can start playing with the bend arc. And for example, you can start creating. For example, in this case, we can make it smaller, thicker, and longer. And you can start creating the. We can let's make it longer. Some creating something like this. Clicking on the gear, bend arc, and start creating the bracelet body like this one, and then squeeze it. So when we are squeezing it, we're gonna have this problem. For example, getting something like this, we can get into the gizmo and we will get something like this. So we will get a problem here and here when we have this is thicker than here. So that's the problem of squeezing a circle. So we're going to have this problem. My opinion, we should avoid to use this method because we are going to have deformations on the body. So the profile of the wire is not going to be continuous. It's going to be thicker in some areas and thinner on others. So maybe it's a good idea to avoid to use this method. So I will show you a completely different method. So let's see. Erase this and let's undo it. Undo. And of course, I have been talking about before, when we are about to create a physical product. So next is the first step to take when we are creating physical products is to set up the scale of ZBrush at the moment when we start working with ZBrush. So you know how to do that. So you can open, in this case, your left tray, or in my case of my custom interface, my left tray. You can go to the Z plugins, and then you can go to the scale master and start setting up the scene scale. Clicking on this button. Let's put this here. Okay, so you can see the current measurements that we have on the cylinder is 2 millimeter by 2 millimeters by 2 millimeter. Of course, it's a very tiny bracelet. It's not possible to wear for a human. So let's change its measurements. So let's for example, if we start taking measurements from our wrist, I am having the caliper, and maybe we can say that we can consider the internal diameter or the width, or the right measurement could be around 55 or 57 millimeter. Maybe 57 is gonna be better, maybe 58, or don't getting a very tight bracelet on the wrist. Maybe we can go from 2 millimeters to 58. So let's resize the tool, and now we can squeeze it. So to make a more oval shape, I'm taking the measurement from the wrist. From another measurement, we can say this is 45 millimeter, maybe 47 millimeter. So 58 by 47. Let's see how much it is. That's 46. Let's turn this off. Maybe 47 instead of 46. Of course, when I have to make a commission like this one, most of the time the client is giving to me the necessary measurements. Now I am taking the measurement from my own arm, from my own wrist, but trying to make something as more realistic as possible. But maybe the first question that you should make to your client is give me the measurements of maybe I am talking about the internal measurements of we are talking about, why do I can't. So the internal measurement, so from this point to this point. The external measurement is a completely different measurement, but the most important thing to start working with is the internal space for the wrist. David, ¿qué plugin es ese? ¿Estás hablando de este? Scale Master. Scale Master, it's a plugin which comes by default with the ZBrush installation. So you can control the units of measurement inside of ZBrush. So setting up different scales for your objects using this plugin. I think it was created many years ago. So now it is implemented inside of ZBrush. so you don't need to find it and install it. So it is installed by default with your default installation of ZBrush. You're welcome. De nada. Pregunta lo que necesitas. Lo que necesites, sin problema. Okay. I will try to pay attention as more as possible to the chat, just for don't lose any of your comments or questions, because the main purpose is being here, sharing with you knowledge. So I prefer to paying attention to your questions instead of being concentrated on what I'm doing. So more interesting for me. We can talk in Spanish or in English. It doesn't matter. If you are answering in Spanish, so I can speak in Spanish, then I will translate it. Or maybe YouTube can make it for me, because you know that you have the possibility of turning on the subtitles, and you can, as far as I know, you can decide the language that you want to use on the subtitles. Justo tengo que hacer un brazalete. Ahora hay tallas específicas de muñecas, como con los anillos. Pues si te soy sincero, no estoy seguro y te diría que no. Igual que en los anillos, mi experiencia se basa en lo que necesita el cliente. Quiero decir que no hay tallas estándar que funcionan en todos los países y para todos los clientes. Yo prefiero siempre preguntar las medidas. Se supone que hay tablas de tallas generales, pero luego en la práctica cada cliente tiene sus propios criterios. So, I'm talking about the sizes, about bracelets and rings, and I have been saying that there are some charts where all the sizes are fixed with different names, with different letters or numbers, but depending on the country, the part of the world, most of the time they are not very accurate. I prefer to answer that directly to my clients. If I am receiving a commission for a ring or for a bracelet, I prefer that the client gives me the specific necessary measurements, so to don't having problems considering what means, for example, a number 9 for me. For example, for him, it's 0.5 millimeter less or more. So I prefer to ask before decide which is the right measurement. In English, no problem. Yeah, como quieras. In English or Spanish, we can talk in both languages. So now the size has been set to 58 millimeter wide, left, right, 47 millimeter height, top to bottom. So let's start making so we are going to use this brush. You know, this is a very common brush. It's a curved tube snap brush. If you go to brushes, B and Z, you will find it here somewhere. It starts by the letter C, curved standard tube snap. So with this brush, you have the possibility of painting tubes on a surface, snapping the existing surface, like this one. And the way that we have to attach a perfect tube around this shape, this oval shape, we can take advantage of this feature. You select the Z modeler. For example, you select this H, you press the spacebar, and you want to crease this loop. So we want to crease H loop complete. We can click, and you can see here we already have this loop with a creased line applied here. So next step, we can go to the stroke, we can go to the curve functions, and we have 3 different options. In our case, we want to use this, the third one, creased edges. We can turn this off and turn it off, and then frame mesh. So it's the way that we have to attach any curve to any of these different features. In this case, the creased edges. So you can see here. And now we can select the curve tube snap, and then when we are touching the curve, we are applying the curve. And also we can control the depth. So in this case, we should rise this up a little bit. So maybe it's gonna be there, maybe a little bit more. like this is gonna be okay. Okay, I think that this is going to be okay. But before accepting what we are doing, of course, very important thing to know is the thickness of this wire that we are putting on the surface. For controlling that, we can, one of the things that I do most is that I'm gonna apply another cylinder just for controlling the measurements. We can call this measuring control, this subtool. We are gonna call this subtool this way, measuring control. So let's apply a cylinder 3D, and is here somewhere inside of this, the big one. We can push this down, and we can rotate it 90 degrees from this view. And then, for example, this wire should be around less than 1 centimeter, 10 millimeters. Maybe we can stay around, let me check with the caliper, maybe 1 centimeter is going to be a very thick wire of bracelet body. So maybe we can reduce the measurements still 8 millimeter. Let's try with 8 millimeter instead of 10 millimeter. So selecting the cylinder, we can come back to the scale master, read its measurement first. It is 2 by 2 by 2 millimeters. We should turn this on. So that means when we are changing one of the 3 axes, we will change the others accordingly with the modification. So let's say 8. So 10 resize subtool. Okay, like this, and let's put it here on the surface, touching on the surface. So, and when I am adding measuring control subtools, depending on what I am doing, I like to change the color of that subtool. It's as a personal mania or preference taste. So you can go to change here, for example, from white to red, and go to RGB and fill object, just for knowing that I am having this tool just for checking a specific measurement when I am creating something. This and when I am saying measuring control, it's the way that I have that I am not making things as the stuff that I'm adding on the design in it is not bigger or smaller than the required measurements. Of course, we are taking at an average measurement. So, but we know that part, it is not bigger or smaller than that measurement. In this case, 8 millimeter. So, okay, so let's go now to the cylinder again, using having the curved tube snap brush selected, and now we are going to use another plugin. This plugin should be installed, so that means it doesn't come already installed with ZBrush. You need to find it, download it, and install it, or get it here available on your Z plugin menu. And it is the name is IMN draw size, and we can set up in this case the thickness of the wire that we are about to attach to this cylinder. So we set 8 millimeter. It's going to be a good idea. So set taping 8 millimeter, press the enter key, and then push this button, set IMN draw size. And now when we are using this, you can see it is 8 millimeter. You can see the reason why I attach here a subtool, which is telling to me that we are very close to 8 millimeter or perfectly 8 millimeter. Maybe the offset, the reason why we have here a little offset between the red and the wire, it's because probably we should push this up a little bit more. And you can see here now it is, you can see also we have a little gap between the wire and the measurement of the wrist. Maybe it should be a little bit less. Of course, we are talking here about very, very small loose of millimeters. So we can be, we should be worried about that, but don't be crazy about having 0.05 millimeter less or 0.04 millimeter more. So so it's gonna be enough. So like this, I think it is okay. So now we can go into the splitting options and split to a mask points, and now we are having this is the, we can call this is the wrist reference, for example, and this is the bracelet body. We can rename this is the bracelet body, and this is the three sub tools that we have now prepared. In English, no problem. Yeah, we can talk in English or Spanish. If you at any point, as far as I know, if I start talking in Spanish, maybe you have the chance to turn on the subtitles on YouTube for the translation. But probably you are not going to lose any information. Let's see. Okay, looks like the Twitch chat is working. Yes, looks like yes. Okay, so I like to, for example, where we are having an important reference or an important subtool, I mean that we are about to take another step on the designing process, but we are not very sure about we are about to make. So we are gonna test something, or we are still unsecure about what we are about to make. So I prefer to make a duplicate, just keep safe the original, and then we are about to change the topology of this. We are gonna, the first try, we're gonna try to make something like this. You are gonna try to twist it, right? To start twisting this thing. You can see at this point it is not going to be possible using because you have very cool option here. As we said before, maybe you can have the idea of starting from a cylinder, you can make it bigger. You can now get into the clicking on the gear. You can start using the twisting option. You can twist it. You can start twisting the geometry, for example, twisting this way. And now we can accept, and now you can click on the bend arc, and then you start bending, and you will get a twisted geometry with a circular shape like a ring. But in this case, as we are not making a ring, it is not circular, so we need to then get the necessary shape. If you go from here to here, you will start having these problems where you are having thicker parts and thinner parts, so the profile of the tube or of the wire it is not regular. So that's the reason why I reject this workflow. So I prefer to being using this. And the way that you have to start getting a twisted wire here on the surface, if you go now to polygroups, you will find to this polygroup, you will find this button that I already have here on my custom interface, group as dynamic sub. Dynamic sub means dynamic subtraction. It's like a negative mesh. It must be here somewhere inside of this polygroup. It is group as dynamic sub. As you can see, you will change the color from any color to white. Maybe we can say that the white color is the only color that has a sense. You find it in a polygroup. You can see when you are creating polygroups, you are creating white, you are creating yellows, reds, purples, greens, blues, with a random criteria of ZBrush. But when you are using the white, that means that polygroup it's a negative mesh. So you are going to see it now. So you press this button, you can see the color turns white, and now you can use the C modeler. Okay, I will tell you why I did this if I undo it. If I go to the C modeler and I prepare this, going to here, spacebar, I want to insert the point, come here. You stay in the center of the polygon, press an insert point, but you can see you can't apply this action to all of the polygons at once. The target, you only have this target, so you can apply one here, another one here, another one here, and we will use these loops for getting the twisted texture, but you will be here pushing and clicking on all of the polygons for getting the same effect. So let me undo it, undo. But if you convert this mesh into a dynamic sub polygroup, so group as dynamic sub polygroup, now when you are clicking one, you can see you will apply the actions directly to all of the polygons with only one click. And if being honest, I don't know why we need to do this, but I found it probably some years ago, and I have to say it's very useful in some cases. One of the cases is this one. Hey Thompson, thank you. Yes, ZBrush probably it's a bit intimidating because it has a lot of buttons. The power of ZBrush almost endless, but I always the same thing that I always say about that is being focused on one specific workflow, one specific thing that you want to create, and you will start growing your knowledge about ZBrush once you start needing different techniques or more knowledge about more different things. But for the first step to take is being focused on something. Try to learn as more as you can for making that. If we are talking about a jewelry design, we are talking about a character or another kind of thing, you will be focused only on that. So, and then being focused on learning all the necessary processes, all your searchings on YouTube or on Google, being focused on that purpose. So once you are an expert about that, or when you grab the necessary knowledge to grab that, maybe then you take one step further and stop learning another thing. So you will take different step based on different needings. So instead of trying to learn everything at once or as more as necessary from one tutorial or general tutorial, or trying to understand the general concepts of ZBrush. Hello Nacho, I love to see this jewelry piece. Thanks a lot, Messias. You're a miniature modeler. I'm not very familiar with how the jewelry niche works. How to get jobs in that field? What requirements? Yeah, the only requirements you need to learn, you need to adapt your way of working to the market or to the professionals who are working on the market. So probably is the same thing that you already made about miniature. So for example, you went from sculpting characters without any specific applications with ZBrush, and then you started using those characters you were making, apply it on the miniature industry, and you already learned that you should set up properly the thicknesses, the sizes, the scales. So it's gonna be the same knowledge but with different rules. So the rules comes from the market, comes from the professionals. So you should be in contact with jewelers, with jewelry professionals for start learning the necessary knowledge that you need for being applied on your digital sculpting models. So probably if you are interested on receiving jewelry commissions, so start posting jobs on the specific jewelry groups and try to contact with jewelry professionals, and then probably they will you will take their attention based on your sculpting skills, and then they are going to see your work and they are going to contact you for adapt your work into a jewelry design, and you should learn how to adapt your sculpting skills to the jewelry requirements. It's a matter of, it's a learning journey. So there isn't a rule about a book or a place where you will be able to learn all that you need. So the best way of learning is working with professionals or taking courses, but there isn't too many courses specifically for jewelry designs. Today, now I am already giving one at Vertex School about ZBrush for jewelry design. Thompson, you feel like you would need to stop using Cinema 4D and only use it depending on the kind of thing that you need to make. I don't know, depending. For example, if we are talking about the sculpting, of course you should use ZBrush, but if we are talking about animation or another application, maybe Cinema 4D, it's gonna be better than ZBrush. But depending on the kind of job or the kind of stuff that you are doing, of the about which work we are talking about. Hey Luan Bento, hey Nacho, you're working with 3D modeling for 10 years, and when I started transitioning from Rhino to ZBrush, your videos and tips. Oh, very cool. Oh, I really appreciate your comments and saying thank you to me. I really appreciate it because, yes, in my beginnings, I tried to learn Rhino, but for me it was very frustrating because I came from the illustration and from making miniature by hand or small figures by hand, and the skills that I already had inside of me were more related to artistical skills, sculpture, drawing, or painting, and trying to translate that knowledge with Rhino, I found it very difficult, and I found ZBrush very useful for that. I felt in love with ZBrush since the first day that I used it, and that's the reason why I'm trying to talk about that on my streaming. So you can do almost everything with. You don't need Rhino, in my opinion, for nothing. You are only using ZBrush. So okay, let's keep taking more steps. So we already have this, and another cool feature, and it's a very hidden feature, and in this case it's gonna be very useful, because here the topology that we have here, it is not useful. So we need to remove some of the loops. For example, we need to remove this one. We need to remove this one and to remove this one. We should remove them and only keep these ones, the ones which are crossed. So for having this kind of twisted pattern. So the way to do that is just pressing a button. You will find that button here, geometry, modify topology, and you will find merge trees button. You will find this button here, merge trees, merge triangles. Trees means triangle. So just press merge trees and you will get this. So you went from here to here. Boop, 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 boop. You can see how easy you can transform one topology into another. Right? You will get something like this. And now next step to take, probably the topology is very dense. Maybe it's gonna be a good idea if we use the Z modeler, select the side and delete and each loop complete. So let's click on here, and now we are getting something like this. Right, and now this topology is gonna be much more useful. you can see. Okay, so let's start now using the same feature as before. Keep using the C modeler. We can select the side. We want to crease an edge look complete. For example, let's select this one, and you can see what. Let's change the color. Maybe probably let's change the material for getting a brighter one, because the one I was using was a bit dark. With this color you are able to see better. Not with this one. What we did, so we just creased this look. You can see here how it decreasing here. And what we can do now, let's make a duplicate of this one. Let's make a duplicate, and now we are going to go into the masking options. Let's go to masking, and we have different options, like on the framing, like the framing options, we have border, groups, and creased. So let's use the creased button. So turn this off, and mask by features, and we will get this. And then we can probably, you can see here, if I am creasing, applying a mask, you can see here, as we are having a very low resolution mask, you can see the effect of the mask is almost invisible. Maybe could be a good idea if we subdivide the mask once. Oops, without the mask, subdivide like this, and now we can mask by feature, something like this. Now you can watch it better now, the mask. So we can invert the mask, and then we can inflate it. So you will get something like this, right, with this option. So let's create the opening here. It's gonna be necessary to make the opening here. So it's gonna be necessary to cut this one, maybe get rid of this portion, maybe a bigger portion. Maybe it's gonna be necessary to remove this amount of the path. Now it is completely closed, but we need an opening here for attaching the heads on the sides. For that, we can, as we are still on the developing phase, that means that the things that we are creating probably are not 100% definitive, so we are just designing something. So as more non-destructive way of working we can use will be better in term, if we can take some steps before for removing something that we don't like, or we find something that doesn't work. It's much better to use non-destructive workflows. So that means instead of removing the existing polygons, we can take advantage of the live booleans. In this case, I'm going to append a cube. Let's use a cube for making the cut. So let's select the cube, make it bigger like this. Maybe let's change the topology. Because I don't like this. Well, we can. Well, it is not going to be necessary to change the topology. So you can use the gear again and click on the taper. For the tapering, you can see you can start making this, but if you are looking for a straight deformation, not with a curve as it is now, you should change the value of this cone from the minimum to 0, so you're going to be able to use this. And if you don't want to apply the deformation, in this case the tapering, to any of the axes, you can control that with this. You can remove this, and then it's gonna be like this. Maybe we can make it bigger. We can make it bigger, and now we can turn this, going from this icon to this icon, and live boolean. So as we have this here on top, you can see here this abstraction is affecting to the cylinder. You don't want to see, you only want to see the effect on the bracelet. You should change the position of the subtool. We can send it underneath this one, and this is what we are getting. Maybe we can make it bigger. So this is what I was referring about non-destructive way of working. You can see you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, making the opening bigger or smaller, just changing the size of the cube. Let's stay here like this. Probably the bracelet is too big. We are talking about 0.8 millimeter. 0.8 millimeter. Yeah, in my wrist, maybe we can go to 0.7. Let's change this one. Okay, let's send it here, and then we can come back to the scale master. Yes. Okay, this is 8 millimeter. We can go to 7 millimeter. And then what we can do is the inflate with the, you know that you can use this or make it thinner or smaller. So stay closer to 0.7 millimeter like this. Yeah, I think it looks better like this. Okay, and let's rename this. This is rename 0.7 millimeter. Let's save this. This is gonna be the torque bracelet number 1. Okay. Yeah, the topology of this the cube is strange. This is the default topology that you have from a cube inside of ZBrush, but it's very easy to change it. If you press this button and you go to the polygroups, where you polygroups, you click on the groups by normals button, so you apply a different polygroup to each face of the cube. Now then you can go to the zero measure and create a new topology based on the existing polygroups and the adapted size for getting the new polygons and more quad shape as possible. That means you should go from 50 to 0, and maybe you are looking for the same amount of polygons and click on zero measure, you will get this. And if you want to reduce the topology, you can change from same to half, and then starting half, half, and half, till you are getting the right topology to work with. So, and then from this point you can use a completely different topology. Okay, let's come back to this. Let's come back to this, for example, and we can, we already have this. Let's see what happens if we start subdividing, and subdividing. Subdividing, we are getting this. This shape. Maybe it needs to be smaller. Let's send it to the center. Okay, more or less there. And let's start applying this, another texture. So maybe we are going to remove the subdivision number 5 and number 4 and delete lower. Before doing that, I'm going to make a duplicate. I'm going to keep the subdivision levels here, just in case we'll need it. And as you can see here, during the designing process, I am making copies just for having backups or of the messes, just in case as I mentioned before, we decided to come back and start over again because we don't like what we made. So, and the only way of returning from the history, okay, you can go from history, but at any time you're going to lose the steps on the history. So I prefer to keep copies, different copies. And then we are going to remove, okay, we don't have here. We can now come back to the stroke options. We can crease edges, applying a new curve here. Let's see how it looks like. For example, if I select the IMM primitives, let's select an sphere. Let's go to stroke and turn on the curve mode, and then reduce the brush size, and then we can apply this. Just for applying a bit of a texture. It is not 100% like this one, but we can. Maybe this could be the first choice of texture. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Maybe a little bit bigger for bigger balls like this. Not that much, a little bit smaller. Let's send them deeper using this graphic. Maybe we can use this as the first choice. So let's split mask points. And this is going to be the first choice for sending to the client, for example. And we can use another option. For example, what we can do is we can select an sphere here and then make a poly mesh. Maybe we can grab the half of the sphere. We can pull this up and maybe push it to the right, maybe something, yeah, something like this. And we can, let's see how it looks like if we start attaching different spheres. Okay, maybe it's gonna be better to squeeze this, and then maybe it's more something like this, just for where we are attaching different sphere. We can do this. We can, let's see how it looks like. Maybe we can maybe not that much, maybe like this. We can polish, and we can press the B and create an insert B and create an insert mesh. We are going to create a new one. Okay, we can go to the stroke curve mode. We are, oops, with this is the orientation that we are getting on a curve. So okay, so we can come back to this one. We can select the body. Let's hide the balls, and now we can use the same feature as before: stroke, curve functions, creased edge, and then we can apply this here. You can see here it needs to be closer one to the others. We can fix that going to the curve functions. You can see the step now is 1, and we reduce from 1 to 0.8, maybe 0.5. Okay, we can get something more like this, maybe 0.7 or 0.6. I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe something like this and deeper. And we can get this as another option, split mask points. One thing that you should pay attention, this is one thing that I didn't make. You can see the ending the total points of this message goes to 5 million. I'm going to delete this one, because when you are creating a mesh that you are about to convert into a curve brush or insert brush, it's very important to reduce as more as possible the poly count or the points, because you're going to multiply this mess for many copies, so probably you can get millions of polygons for us in a subtool, which is not going to be very important. So let's go to series measure and click on half here, and half again. Now let's rotate this a little bit. We can go here, create an insert mesh, make a new brush again, go into the stroke curve mode. Okay, like this. Let's come back to this bracelet. We can go to the stroke, and we decided 0.6, right? So before this, oops, with a smaller brush, even smaller, and you will get this. Maybe let's make it a little bit bigger, like this, with deeper, less depth. Okay, like this, split mask point. So now we are getting less than 1 million. That's before just reducing the. So this could be another option, right, of the decorative pattern, maybe. Probably we can go into the masking again, make a new mask here. Maybe we can grow the mask, invert the mask, and we can reduce this here. Or maybe then invert the mask and inflate this. Okay, we can do this. That polygroup must have more benefits. Yeah, nice, good procedural turns. What do you mean about the quick procedural turn around for clients? So are you referring to the polygroups, or as I am not I haven't got too much experience about traditional or character design or video games, so probably I can understand what the procedural means in terms of when we are talking about materials, but I'm not sure if you are referring to another thing. Okay, let's see. Lombento, can I make everything you do in Rhino on ZBrush? Well, I can't say yes or no because I haven't got any idea about Rhino. Maybe I can answer yes, you can do everything with ZBrush, the same thing that you are doing with Rhino, but as my knowledge about Rhino is zero, probably yes. Of course, the way of making the same thing is going to be completely different in terms of when you are working with Rhino, you are working with curves, you are working with surfaces, and with the ZBrush, you are working with polygons and with meshes. I know that you have a part of Rhino where you can handle and where you can work with meshes as well, but maybe it's not so powerful than ZBrush. But well, for example, I don't need Rhino for anything since I started 12 years ago making jewelry design, so maybe that could be an answer for your question. So you can do almost everything. Yes, you're on the same boat, so perfect. So but because I love the way of working that ZBrush has, and I hate the way of working that Rhino has. So my mind works as an artist mind, so I prefer the chaos inside of the software. So when you are using Rhino, you should be very clean and very 2D, when you are making things, when you are working with Rhino. So if you are making a curve with a wrong offset or a little mistake, you are gonna get a lot of problems with the mathematical calculation that you have when you are applying another actions. What in ZBrush is like working with your hands inside of a computer with a piece of clay composed by polygons. So it's a completely different thing. Of course, if we are not talking about the kind of designs that you are able to create with Rhino, compare with the kind of designs you are able to do with ZBrush. Of course, when we are talking about organic jewelry designs, ZBrush, it's hundreds of years ago from Rhino, but depending on the kind of thing that you are doing. The ability to change brush shapes so quickly. Yeah, it's like using with a surface, with a continuous surface, which looks like a digital clay. That's the power of ZBrush. And then apply the energy here. Glad to say, hey, Arturo, welcome. Glad to see you here. Thanks a lot for the answer. Okay, Junushan Gokshu. Yeah, you are using a very difficult to pronounce name when you are deciding to use your nicknames. They are very complicated for me. Thanks, jewelry design is such a cool idea to use ZBrush for work. Yeah, I think not only jewelry design, we are talking about products, because the job that I'm currently doing in my daily work, I can say it's 70% related to jewelry and the other 30% related for figures, sculptures, furnitures, architectural ornamentations, things, decorative, house decorative elements. You can do all the sculptural jobs, or with which were made years ago by hand. Now today you can do them. You can do it with ZBrush in combination with the 3D printing and technologies that we are currently having today. So we have a very powerful tool to work with, and it is used on many different industries, and one of them is jewelry, of course. So you work with a jeweler who makes them into a real piece of jewelry. Yeah, exactly. My job is part of the process. It's part of the process of the product of the jewel. Now we are talking about product. We are talking about the jewel. So my process can be part of the designing process. That means that I am designing how it looks like, or probably, or most of the time, the client is sending to me an idea and a sketch. Many people today is using AI for representing what they have in mind. So I am receiving images made with AI. So I need to transform those images into a ready for being manufactured piece of jewelry. So I sell the digital file, and then the jeweler or the jeweler workshop or the jeweler brand grabs what I did, and they start the manufacturing process. So 3D printing, casting, finishing, stone setting, so on, depending on the complexity of the design. That's your real name. Again, sorry. Yeah, Turkish names, they are very difficult ones. Yeah, for me it's been Yunus Sangos. But your name is so long. Maybe your name could be just Yunus instead of Yunus Sangosku. But yeah, maybe a shorter name will be better to pronounce. Fluambento, no, Rhino is a CAD software. Yeah. Oh, ZBrush is also a CAD software. If we are using the name, the global name, we can say that ZBrush is also a CAD. But I know what you mean. So it focuses much more on measurements and precision than on sculpting freedom. Rhino has improved a lot. Yeah, and it's a very powerful and very useful. And if we are talking about the jewelry industry, Rhino, it's 100% implemented on the jewelry industry. We can talk about plugins like Matrix that runs with Rhino, but at the end, it uses the same technology than Rhino. Rhino is a very powerful software. Yeah. Of course, ZBrush is more focused on sculpting or more about the more artistical application than so precise application than Rhino does. But ZBrush is still far superior when it comes to creating more real artistic pieces. Sure, I'm agreeing with you. That said, I still use both this day and they work really well. Yeah, maybe the most powerful thing is the combination of both. I reject to learn Rhino because I couldn't change my mind to start understanding how to work with Rhino. And aside from that, in the other hand, I had ZBrush where it gave me a lot of freedom of creating. So I could translate what I have in my mind directly on the screen without any restriction about technical knowledge or technical buttons or workflows. I can just grab an sphere and start carving on the surface till getting what I'm looking for. Of course, during my working experience, I have been increasing my knowledge about ZBrush, so and that allows me to improve my techniques or being more efficient. But since the first minute with ZBrush you can start creating, but with Rhino maybe you need to study first before you are able to create something good enough, we can say. Perfect. To not keep a simple nickname. Yeah. Nice workflow. Okay, very glad you learned something new, Johnny Miller. This workflow. Yeah, there is a custom bridge. You already made a custom bridge just for sending back and forth your message from Rhino to ZBrush. Yeah, sure. You are already having the knowledge about Rhino and you are not having knowledge about ZBrush. The best option is try to combine both on your workflow. So that it doesn't mean that you need to work with the best software. So each software can do good things. So the combination of both is the best choice. Okay, let's start creating more options. For example, we can here I found one that I like it. This option here, this texture where you let me see, where is it? Oh, this kind of thing where it's kind of it's like a stripe or with little dots here. We can create a custom curve brush for that. Maybe we can start from a cube, make a polymesh, click on frame. Let's find the symmetry on the x-axis. It's this one. Maybe we can squish it this way. Maybe we can squish it this way. We can change the topology, and this has more sense for working with a better topology. We can go into groups by normals, going to see remeasure, give me the half amount of polygon, keep the groups, quads, don't apply any smoothing to the groups, and we can do this. Maybe we can make it thicker. And then let's I'm going to append as Verinder 3D. Let's make it smaller. We can put 1 and 2. Maybe this separation is gonna be enough. So maybe we can make it thicker. And then maybe we can grab the modeler, make a new polygroup here, and make an extrusion QMS to polygroup all. Make it something like this. Maybe we can grab now this side and slide this, making something like this, and probably we can make it thicker this way. And now we can remove the endings. We can delete. Where is the delete option? Here. Delete single poly. Let's delete these polygons. Delete, 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 and delete. And here the same thing. Delete, delete, and delete. The reason why we need to delete this endings is when we convert this into curve brush, the curve brush is going to be able to weld or to soldering the endings between different. So we are going to start making copies, and ZBrush will be able to start soldering the endings. So that's the reason why for having a better soldering or better welding between the better connection between each piece, it works better to leave them open instead of closed. So we can merge them down, merge down, and now we can go to B and create an insert mesh. Let's create a new one, and we should change some settings. The first setting to change is going to the stroke, opening the curve options, and turn on the curve mode. So we will be able to start making this. But you can see here they are open, they are not connected each other. So the way to fix this is going to the brush menu. You go to the brush, you should go to modifiers, and here you should turn this on, weld points. It's going to be better to turn this off for not having problems. I prefer to increase the curve resolution. The curve resolution means that we are going to get softer transitions between the different parts of the curve brush, and the maximum bend angle, maybe instead of 45 degrees, we can go to 90 degrees. So with this, we will be able to get more freedom on the curves. So we will get a better fitting on the surface. If we select this, for example, we can come back to the base. Is this one? We can select the same feature before: stroke, curve functions, creased edges, and we will get this. You can see here, this one. Cool, right? But you can see here the same thing as before. We are getting 6 millions of polygons. Oof. Maybe there are too many. Maybe we can come back to this. Of course, the cage of the boxes has very low, but we can split this, split hidden, and we can reduce the polygon of this. Half and half and half. And then we can merge down and start making the curve brush again. So maybe create an insert mesh. Now instead of new, we can append a new version of the same. So, but I don't know why it is still necessary to come back to curve and curve mode again. Every time you are attaching a new option to your curve brush, it has its own personal or individual settings. So you need to come back again to the brush modifiers and update all the settings we made before. Maybe 0, 3, and 90 degrees. Now we are getting right. So okay, so let's come back here and let's see how it looks like with less polygons than before. Less brush size. You can see how quickly now we can update the curve than before. This is another reason working with less polygons, because the necessary calculations are much lower. So okay, look, we can split. So we have a third option here on this. thank Arturo for being here. It's my pleasure for being here, sharing my knowledge, or at least trying to show what I know. But I always like to say that everything is already invented or discovered. So I learned this stuff as you from other artists. So searching on YouTube or watching tutorials and watching more live streaming so from other artists. So the knowledge is there. It's just a matter of being in the right place for grabbing the necessary knowledge. So. Okay, so let's see. We can let's see what time it is. So okay, we can try to make something like this. Okay, something like this. Let me save this first. Save bracelet, torc bracelet number 1, and let's try to make something like this. You can. This is a very tricky thing, I think, where you can see we need to create. We need to grab this shape here and this shape, these two wires or stripes, which comes from underneath this part and goes up and pass over this. Let's see how we can do that. So we can, for example, we can start from a cube, make polymesh. We can go to groups by normals. We can select this. We can get rid the other faces, delete hidden. Or even better. So okay, even better. So maybe when we try to start thinking, maybe the best way or the best solution is just trying to find the shortest way from one point to another point. Most of the time we are not taking the shortest path. So, but it's a matter of learning with your mistakes. So maybe we can start from a plane better. So let's grab the plane. Let's make a polymesh. The plane is here. So I like to use this brush. When I was thinking about before with the cube, start from a cube and start transforming the topology till getting what I'm looking for. And maybe it's gonna be a better idea if we draw directly what I need instead of starting from something neutral like a cube and transform the shape. Maybe it's gonna be better to start painting the shape directly and creating the shape directly in the with a new topology. You have a very useful brush called topology brush. Where are you? Here, topology brush. We can turn on the symmetry, and now we can start painting the shape directly. Something like this and something like this. For example, we can start crossing lines. Like this, we can start crossing the lines in the middle, and then we can start you can see here, you start crossing the lines. This is the symmetry. We can make it symmetrical after, and then we can start crossing this line here. We can start crossing this line here. Maybe you want to remove any of the lines, just press the Alt key and cross it, and then you can do more something like this. We are having a triangle here. Maybe let's see if we cross this. And we okay, something like this. You can see here I'm not very good with topology. My knowledge about topology is zero, so I just painting polygons, but it could work, I think. Maybe we can, at any time when you are happy with what you painted, you can tap in anywhere, just for getting a new topology, and then you can split the, and here you can now mirror and weld for getting something like this. And now you can fix the perfection of your polygons, just grabbing points. Okay, maybe this needs to be thicker. We can get, okay, something like this. I forgot to turn on my symmetry, okay. So something, probably something like this could work. Okay, so now I can maybe we can make it thicker. And now we can grab this, we can paint another polygroup, this. And now we can make a QMask to the polygroup all. To getting something like this. And maybe we can slide this with the symmetry on, of course. Maybe okay, something like this. We can crease polygroups. We can divide. Okay, we're gonna need to add more creases, for example here. Or maybe we can use the groups by normals. And now crease polygroups. Then maybe we are going to increase this and this. Okay, like this. So we are going to be able to subdivide the mesh. Okay, something like this. Okay, I'm going to increase this in the middle, because it's given to me this imperfection here in the center. Maybe it's gonna be better to let's without the symmetry increased. Okay, something like this. It needs to be curved a little bit, so we can send it to the center, bend arc, something like this, right? And maybe from this view we can apply a little bit of bending here. A little bit more. Okay. no more comments. Okay, so now we can start applying this to elements which go here. We can use the same so let's see how it works. If I start making different instances, you can see here, yes, we can attach here. Maybe we can change the angle here. Okay, like this. I think it works good. Maybe it's going to be better if we make it longer. Okay, something like this. So let's just send it to the center. Maybe we can start, let's append the cube. Cube, where are you? Here. We can change the topology, group by normals, zero measure, the same, keeping the groups. Okay, like this, and now we can use the bend arc this way and this way. Let's see. Here, maybe lower, and make another copy with more bending here. Bend arc again. Yeah, probably something like this. Yeah, maybe I need to change here because the distance between this surface and this surface is very small. Maybe we can select this and making it more something like this. Let's see how it works. Let me run well, and let's test it to see how it works. We can merge visible, for example. This is the result. We can press the B, create an insert mesh, new, go into the stroke, turn on the curve mode, and this is what we get. We can reduce the steps, maybe 0.6, maybe less, 0.7. Yeah, the problem here we are getting, okay, here we're having a problem here because this needs to be lower, maybe here. Maybe there. Oh, wait. Maybe we needs to bend these endings a little bit more. Let's see how it works now. Or maybe this, the arc. Let's see now. Let's see how it works. So merge visible. This is the new version, right? So again, create a CMS. Okay, let's attach to the previous one. Let's select this one. Let's append a new version. Let's go to the curve mode. Okay, let's reduce the steps, 0.6. Oops, 0.8. No, 0. I think I am making something wrong, because you can see they are not able to connect, because this should be over this part. So if we reduce 0.5, we will get something like this, but this should be on top. For a game, if you were trying to replicate that image, will it just be a simple curved plane with a normal map? I don't know, because I haven't got any experience about the game. Depending on, yeah, I think probably, in my opinion, has too much sense to increase the polygons just for such a small detail. Maybe it has more sense with create this with a normal map, because I already mentioned at the beginning of the streaming, here we are having in mind more the manufacturing process. We are about to create a physical object, a physical product. The thing that we are doing on the screen, it's going to be necessary to be printed in this case. And we need to preserve the measurements, to preserve the details and so on. But probably we are talking about a game system or a game application. Probably has more sense to create an alpha from this and then apply a normal map or a depth map to a plane. So we didn't have success yet with this form. That means that probably we need to increase the height here. Probably having something like this, because if we are having this go here, we need enough space for putting this here for the next. Maybe like this way it should work. And then hey Thompson, yeah, have a good day, you too, and thanks for being here during the stream. Thanks a lot. So let's create a third try. So merge visible, it's this one. Let's go with the third try, insert mesh, append a new version. Let's go back to stroke, curve mode, 0.6. Ooh, no. still doesn't work. Why? Now when I'm almost, we're almost there, almost there. So maybe we need to change a bit the angle here. Oops. Maybe we should change the angle. Let's see the fourth try. Let's see, this is the let's come back to here. Let's go green insert mask, new stroke, curve mode again. Work. This is okay. Let's see now. Let's see stroke and 0.7. Ooh, yeah. Maybe we bend. You can see here I'm having the problem here. Maybe I need to push this back. Probably yes. Maybe I can push this back here. And push this up here. See if now okay, let's see. Let's say we go to the merge visible again. The fifth try. We are not having a lot of success with this part of the streaming, but let's see. I hope I'm not boring you with this, but then at the end it's gonna look very cool. I think stroke. No, no, and no. We are still getting the same problem. And probably now it's worse than before. Probably now it looks worse than before, and let's see. I'm going to don't be here repeating the same thing over and over. So let's merge down and let's see if I can fix it, because I am looking forward to make something like this, right? So if I fix this here, just modeling directly what I'm looking for. I make another copy, yes, I'm going to be able to fix that. And now, okay, if I'm going to need to make this thing shorter, yeah, something like this. So now if I try to make a copy, maybe it's gonna work. Yes, but still this needs to be higher at this point. And like this, looks like it should work. Okay, so I need to make this thing shorter, this part, or start combining something like this, and then okay, so let's maybe increase the angle here. And then we can almost done. Yes, almost done, I think. Okay. It's almost done. Maybe we can apply a bit of an arc here. Yeah, almost. Almost, I think. Yeah. I think now it's gonna work. So we can press the B again. Let's create a new mesh like this. Let's create an insert mesh, new angle. Let's curve mode 0.6. Ooh, now looks like it works. Yeah, nothing. Oh, with the 0.6 doesn't work. Let's try with 0.5. Yeah, 0.5 looks better, but not perfect. Let's say 0.55. Yeah, 0.55. It works. You can see here. Oops, I have a small mistake there. We have a small mistake there. Don't know why. Yeah, we are watching this from the side. Maybe we need to increase this. Hey Rob, Cis, welcome, saludos. Saludos. Yeah, oof. I think we are done. So we need one more thing for call it done. So we can bend a cylinder here. Let's send it to the center. Let's push it here. The body gonna be necessary to create something like this. Now it's going to be necessary to remove the endings as well. Let's see if we can fix it. Yeah, well, I'm still fighting with it. I'm still fighting. It takes a lot of time because this kind of braided designs, which all the elements are connected between each other. The element goes down, goes up, goes underneath the other. It's crazy that you need to be playing with it or being fighting with it, making many testings. So, but we are almost done. We can press the B, insert mesh, make a new one. Let's go to stroke, curve mode. Okay, we can go to the 0 point, we set 0.555. So you can see we are almost done because we still, don't forget to, because they are not yet welded, we need to weld points, increase your curve resolution, your maximum bend angle to 90. And now we got it. Yeah, I think it's almost done like this. You can see here. Okay, so let me save this. This is going to be could be the Nordic piece, for example. And let's come back to the original. This, we can select this, the template, the paste we use for, and now we can repeating the same thing, stroke, curve functions, creased edge, and that's it. But maybe deeper, maybe having something like this. You can see here the depth. Okay, this design is flat, is more flatter, it's not so thick than the other, but maybe we can increase the depth. It's a bit different, but you can get, and also we can make another version for this. Maybe we can make this another one thicker than this, and we can attach it, create insert mesh, append, and we can set up the same settings than before, curve mode 0.55, weld points, curve resolution. I don't know why do we need to change the setting for every single piece we add to the inventory, but maybe I'm doing something wrong, but as far as I know, you should do it. I don't know, I'm not sure, but I need to ask it. So maybe you are getting more something like this, maybe deeper, maybe a little bit deeper. There you go. Okay, maybe thicker. Maybe the brush size is now 119. Maybe we can set up to 120. So maybe 130. Yeah, maybe probably something like this. And we can split mass points, and we got the third bracelet. In this case, could be different. Where is it? Okay, this should be here for making the opening. maybe in this case we should change a little bit the design because it's not going to be symmetrical, but we can think about it, about something. What we can do, maybe we can duplicate this. We can preserve the creases, but we're going to auto groups. And let's remove, to know where is the center of the design, you can turn on the 3 axes on the floor, and you can go to draw, and then you can set up the elevation to 0, and now you know where the center is. So what we can do is, let's remove this one, this, and the same thing here on the top. Let's remove this, and this. Okay, let's get rid of all of these parts. We can remove all of those ones like this. We can delete hidden, and then we can mirror and well. No, we can send it to the other side and mirror and well. Again, something like this. And here in the bottom we can maybe we can create another part, another piece, an extra piece, as a different part of the design. Also, what we can do, let's see how we can create something cool. So we can turn on the symmetry, X and Y. We can extend, whoops, we can extend this. Ooh, no, without the Y, no, with the Y active, we can extend this part. And let's see how it looks like. No, it doesn't work. Yeah, creating something more like this. And we can create a third element here. And also, this is going to be necessary to remove this. Delete hidden. Delete all of this. Also this. Delete hidden, and we will get this as part of the. Okay, this could be part of the so we can create this as a third. Also, we can those links are so tricky. Yeah, also this, all of the links, always the links are very tricky. Yeah, when we are talking about links, about bracelets, the thinking part of the process, when you need to think and to find solutions, maybe it's bigger than the the time that you need to put on the just on the sculpting. Okay, maybe the first thing that comes to my mind when I am watching this, maybe I'm having this problem because the maybe putting a kind of an eye here, you know. maybe we can make this shorter, and then we can insert a sphere here. No, without the curve, of course. Let me go to stroke. I turn this off. Yeah, we can do something like this. We can let me split this. Split mask points. Maybe we can split a certain sphere in the center. You can see you can use this feature, the same feature we were using before with this. You can see here we do have two different polygons, but if you select this one and you tell to ZBrush that this is a negative mesh, click on this, so you can see now the polygon group becomes white. So when you're using this feature inside of the gear, mesh by union, you will be able to apply a negative subtraction directly. And now we can change the topology of this. Series measure, clicking the same, the groups. We can polish it. And now we can sculpt them there or something. Like an eye or something like this. For example, with the radial symmetry here, we can subdivide it. We can use this masking option, and we can activate symmetry, radial symmetry on X, on Z here. For example, we can apply a texture here. Just sketching something. In this case, this doesn't mean that it's gonna be the definitive, but it's just for showing you what I mean with this part of the bracelet. Okay, so we are done for today. Okay, it's gonna be necessary to close all of these gaps that we have here to make it solid. Now only we have now the decorative pattern on top. Right, so it's going to be necessary to apply a wire or a tube here just for making it solid and closing all of the gaps. And we already made some bracelet designs like this one, like this one. We also made this one with this more decorative elements. So on the next trimming we will start working on the endings of the wolf. So we will start designing the head of the wolf and finishing the file and get it and leave it ready for 3D printing. I already made one version. Let me show you Torc bracelet. Lua 2. This one, because I have been playing with it before, but no, I didn't record it. The one, okay. So next day, next streaming, we will work. We'll work on the wall head, and so adding here the base, a ring, the connection between the body of the band of the bracelet. We can say the neck of the wolf, and let's say what we can do with the wolf design. As I mentioned before, I'm not looking for a realistic finishing, maybe closer to this one, not so detailed, more simplistic like this one. I like this shape of the head, this kind of shape that it has here with an empty space on the mouth. I found this very original. It's a good combination of realism, because I don't want to make some so realistic like this was. I'm looking for more stylized between this one and this one. So maybe between this one and this one. Maybe this one for me is too detailed, and this one. And we will work on it. Next streaming in July. So thanks to everybody who have been here watching this live. Hope you found it interesting. I will share with you again. Don't forget that you can visit my LinkTree. You know that you can visit my LinkTree. Just clicking on LinkTree / Nacho Riesco. There you will get also, you have here, just in case maybe you can scan this for get access to it. Okay, so where you will find many buttons connected to all of my portfolios on Arstation, Behance, Instagram, YouTube, my personal website, and the most important now for me, it's the second button when you will get access to my Patreon community. So you will part of a community dedicated to ZBrush for jewelry. So just paying €6 each month, you will get access or many tutorials about many stuff about ZBrush applied to jewelry techniques or to jewelry designs. You also will get an access to a Discord forum where you will find more people interested on using ZBrush for jewelry design. It's a matter of being growing and growing till having a bigger community to share knowledge and to share ideas for improving our ZBrush skills. So I will wait you here. So I will post it again on the chat, just in case any of you are interested. And we'll see you here next month in July, working on this design, making more progress on this bracelet. So thanks to everybody. So, and see you in July. Bye.